All right, guys, here we are again working on the 85 300D, and now I'm actually under the car. I've done everything up top. It's beautiful. I sent the original radio off to Becker, and they're currently restoring it. So now we are under the car, and first thing you notice is that the previous owner put some brand new calipers back here. So that's awesome. They also did some brand new Zimmerman rotors, and Zimmerman are the good brand. Those are the kind I like to use. Upon the inspection back here, we can see that there is a tear in that boot right there, that axle boot. I'm going to remove the axles, and fortunately here in Georgia we have one of the best axle rebuilder shops. It's called CV Source up in Buford, and they're outstanding. So when the boots are torn, it's very important you need to inspect the axles first. And if they're damaged, then you need to put in some new axles. And CV Source actually even has the ability to weld up and repair damaged axles. They can do it all. I actually did the axles on there's my daily driver out there, the 300 SD, and they did my axles, I don't know, 5 years ago, and they're outstanding. So I'm going to get these axles out of here, and we're going to bring those up there to CV Source and have them gone through. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so to get the axles out of the car, first thing you need to do, drain the diff fluid and then pull off the diff cover. Now, the diff cover, oops, that's upside down. There we go. The diff cover has a mount right here, and that mount, there's four, I think they're 13 millimeters, and those bolts, see if we can get underneath here. There we go. That mount bolts right here. Now you notice I have a telescoping jack stand holding up my rear end, but the reason you need to take the mount off to get in and remove the diff cover is because right here in the diff there's a C-clip. There's one on this side. You can see the little tab right there. That's how you can grab it with a hook and pull it out. And there's one on that side. That allows you to pull the axles out of the car. Also, what you need to do over here on the end of the axles, Mercedes has these little bolts that actually, there's the axle, you can see it right there, and this bolt is actually screwed in to the end of the axle. That's also a 13 millimeter. So that separates the axle from the hub where you can pull it out the other direction. Guys, I forgot to hit record when pulling that C-clip, but I found the easiest way to get it out is I just wrapped a little, see if you can see that. That's some just welding wire, 0.30 or 0.30 welding wire. I just wrapped it through there and then held it with some pliers and pulled it out. All right, now the axles can be removed from the car. It's a little tricky. You have to jack up the pumpkin all the way, or the differential housing, all the way up to the top and then pull them out and flex them from that side. So using our telescoping jack, we're going to put that all the way up to the top. There, you can see the axles are already starting to come out. You got to go all the way up. And there we go. So this side is out. There we go. There's one. And we might be able to just roll this out. And there it goes. Beautiful. We didn't damage anything. We kind of rolled it out. And now We can pull it out right here. Okay, now there's another very important part I need to show you guys. Let me get these down onto the ground. All right, guys, here's the important part. So on the inside of the axles, there's shims. You can see we have one shim here, and it looks like we have, yep, we have one shim over here. I can't get my fingernail behind it, but there's a shim right there. And that shims the axle the correct amount, so you don't get premature wear and you get proper engagement. And you can actually see the engagement right there. It looks like there's about a 1/4 inch behind it where it wasn't getting engagement. But that's what that shim is. It gives you the right amount of spacing. So you got to be careful not to lose those and not to mix them up between the two different sides of the cars. So anyway, we got those out. Let's get those over to the CV Source shop. To do what I just did, that's about an hour job. And we're just going to leave the axle. Now, sometimes to make it a little easier, you can disconnect the sway bar. That way you can get it a little bit higher, because the sway bar is, of course, putting down pressure. So to put them back in, I'm probably going to remove these sway bar end links, because those need to be replaced anyway. See, the boot is torn up there at the top. Those are originals. Those aren't going to be any good. So I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, that one is too. So I'll go ahead and replace those, and that'll allow me to jack this up just a little bit higher. And this one came out super easy. That one was a little more challenging, so by jacking it up higher, I'll be able to get it back in. So let's get these over to the CV repair shop. Okay, guys, we have the axles back from John over at CV Source. And I'm about to show you these axles, but CV Source, they're right up the road from me in Buford. They are the best axle, I guess rebuilders is the right word, in the country. They do not get better. John's been doing it for, I think, 35 years. It was a family business. And they're not just rebooting axles. For example, even if you have damaged axles, John will TIG weld and repair your axle joints back to original, perfect, factory new condition. And I've never seen anybody else that can do this work in the country. John works with Louis. There's 2 of them in the shop. They usually have a 24-hour turnaround time, meaning 1 day. And he does incredible work. Every axle that we need done goes to John. Pierre Hidari sends his axles over to John. He's the best in the business. Now, let me show you these axles we just got back for the 85 300D. You can see he has, of course, rebooted them, painted the cans, put the date on there. He uses the correct, straps. Sorry, I forgot the word. Clamps. And these are, he also cleans up. Look how clean everything is. And what you can't see is what they do inside the cans. These were in pretty good shape, but when they're damaged, for example, if your boot's been ripped and you've run your car for, you've been driving your car with no oil in the axle, it's going to damage the joint, and they can actually repair that. So you don't have to buy that aftermarket cheap Chinese stuff. You get to reuse the original Mercedes axles. So these have been completely gone through and rebuilt. You can see he puts his sticker on there, rebuilt. And this is as good as you can get. This is back to original Mercedes specs. So we're going to go ahead and throw these back up in the car and get this thing buttoned back up. Unfortunately, my camera stopped recording when I slid in the inner part of the axle. So we'll show it on the other side of the car. But what I wanted to also show that my camera did not record a minute ago is I've cleaned up these seals, inner seals, and put a little lubricant on there so nothing binds when I'm putting the axle back in there. And I've also inspected and cleaned up these outer bearing seals, and these also look fantastic. Front bearings on these cars, you need to replace every so often, the rear bearings go for an unbelievable amount of time. My car has like 220,000 miles on it. I've never had to replace the rear bearings. So these have plenty of life left in them. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this one in. This is going to be the difficult side because, again, the driver's side was the easy side to remove. And I went ahead and detached my sway bar just to make sure. See, here's my sway bar end link. We're going to replace those just to make sure I have the most amount of droop I can get. Then we want to get our teeth lined up over there. Our splines. There we go. I think they're lined up. And be careful because these clamps that are reinstalled by CV Source, they're the best clamps. They're very nice, but they will cut you if you grab onto them and you're trying to install this. So watch out for that. All right. As I recall, when I was removing them, this was the easier side. There was a little more clearance on this side for some reason. So again, I've got my spacer. See my spacer ring? That's the spacer that came out on the driver's side. So we'll put that back through there around the brake line and kind of guide it. We'll guide it into the differential. Clear that brake line. There we go. All right. And this one, see how easy it clears on this side? For some reason, there's always one side that's tougher than the other. There we go. All right, we got our splines lined up on both sides. Now we need to lower the differential a little bit so it's not at such a severe angle. Now we're going to come back down a little with our differential, making sure the splines are still lined up right. Good. All right, now we want to get those C-clips back in there in the center diff, so we'll have to lower it a little bit to get those in there. All right, guys, see if y'all can see this a little bit, but I've got the C-clip held with some pliers. There we go. I've got it on there now, and you just want to push. There we go. So I've got it started, and now I'm just going to get a little punch and tap it just a little bit to get it in there the rest of the way. Okay, I'm going to try to keep my big head out of the way. I have a brass drift here. There we go. That C-clip is back in there. There we go. You're looking at, so that little tab with the white on it, that's the C-clip. And you can see it's around the axle, all the way around. And what that does, it keeps the axle from pulling out of the differential. There's the C-clip tab right there. It's knocked in nice and good. There you go, nice and tight. And there's that one right there. So the C-clips are reinstalled. So there we have a brand new axle. Well, or refurbished or rebuilt axle. Original Mercedes equipment. This is, again, from CV Source. This is the correct way to do it. Do not buy cheap aftermarket rebuilt axles from China. They are not done right. This is the stuff you want to use. I'll put John's number here. So now we're going to clean up this diff real good. And then we're going to clean up our diff cover. Turn off that light. We're going to clean up our diff cover real good, and we're going to reassemble this. All right, guys, as far as cleaning up the diff cover, we're just going to run a razor blade down it, make sure there's no gunk. There you go. There was a little gunk right there. Just so we have a very clean, smooth surface. And then we'll wash it out with brake cleaner in case any more gunk gets in there. Yeah, I did see a little bit remnants of a little sealant right around this inner edge. So by 1985, maybe the factory was doing that a little bit. I know on my 116 chassis, they did not use any sealant. So we'll put some back on here. We'll just put a little bit. I'm just using some Scotch-Brite just to go around here and make sure everything's smooth and nice and clean so we get a nice good seal. There we go. I'll hit it with some brake cleaner and then we'll take it outside and dump all that out. See that little yellow around the edges? I think that's where see the little yellow around the edges? That's obviously where some sort of sealant was. So we will put some back on there. So let me go dump this out. And guys, we're just gonna do the same process here. Scrape off any gunk so we get a nice, good surface. We'll rub some Scotch-Brite over the edges, over the face of the differential housing here. Yes, that is very clean. We put just a little RTV around the edges. And we're going to go ahead and bolt this guy back into place. Clear that sway bar. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get 2 bolts started to hold it. And now I'm going to get my electric 3/8 drive. And then we'll run these in and then torque everything down. I like to wipe the little RTV that squirts out. I like to wipe it off. Because to be honest with you guys, I hate RTV. I don't like to use it. All right, guys, now we need to refill this with some 80W90. And first, let's go over and put the bolts back in the ends of the axles. There we go. And we'll torque that, snug that down, of course. Let's go do the other side. Alright guys, so we've got the diff cover on, and now we need to mount the diff housing back to this cross member back here. And sorry if I'm in the shot, but this is 4 bolts. They look like 10mm, but you raise, so I'm raising it with my jack, and if we're lucky, it's going to align perfectly, which it does. Sometimes if that gets off, it is a royal pain in the ass to get those holes to line back up. But we got lucky with that. Now we'll put some blue Loctite on there because that's what the Germans did. And then we'll get this torqued back to spec. All right guys, we got our blue Loctite. That's what the Germans used. You can see it on the bolts we took out. 30 foot-pounds, 30 Newton meter, about 30 foot-pounds. You can feel it if you've been doing this as long as I have. You know what the torque's supposed to feel like on a bolt this size. All right, guys, and there we go. Our freshly sealed diff cover, our brand new axles, our remounted diff cover to the chassis up there, and our brand new axle over here. All right guys, I'm actually up on a ladder because this job is normally done on the 2-post lift. When there's a platform on the 4-post lift, it makes it a little tougher. But since I'm up here, so the sway bar end link right there, it attaches into the hub down here and up to your sway bar right here. See, the sway bar runs around and across to the other side of the car. So first thing you do, you take this 17mm nut off the inside here and it pulls out. And then, here we go, you can get a wrench on here and see this bottom one actually screws into the hub. I might be able to finish that by hand now. No, not yet. But you have to have the wheels off to do this, and it's pretty tight. Normally you do it from underneath, but on this 4-post lift, you have to do it from up here. So let me go ahead and unscrew that and get these old sway bar end links out of here. All right, here is the original sway bar end link, and you can see how easy that is to move. There's a ball joint in there, and we can see the boot is ripped, no more grease in there, and this basically has just free play. That is not how that's supposed to operate. The bottom one, I mean the top one actually, that's still kind of stiff. Now, the replacement sway bar end link, there you go. See, it has the boots intact and much stiffer, much harder to move. So this one is obviously, that's what a new one looks like. So this just screws into the hub, and that screws into the sway bar with the new hardware. There we go. We'll put a nut right there to hold the top, and then we can put our wrench on there and get the bottom threaded in there. All right, guys, there you can see our new sway bar end link. Let's go around this brake line. There you go. That is a fresh new sway bar end link, ready to go another 100,000 miles. So let's go ahead and do the other side. All right, guys, we have our new sway bar end link installed over on this side. So now we're almost done servicing the rear of this vehicle. Obviously, new calipers and rotors, new brake lines, sway bar end links, refurbished and rebuilt axles, new axle boots, differential cover resealed, exhaust hangers, new exhaust hangers. So now we need to go ahead and fill the differential with some diff oil. Let's do that now. Valvoline High Performance 80W9 SAE gear oil. Been using that stuff for over a decade. That is good stuff for these rear diffs. Don't bother getting in one of those arguments in the forums or Facebook groups about what type of gear oil to use. Just put this stuff in there. It's regular old 80W90 gear oil, and it works. And it works great. Some guys talk about synthetics and synthetic motor oil, and guys, I don't mess around with that. I put in just real dinosaur oil, 15W40 in the engine and 80W90 in the diff. And you just want to fill this up until it starts to run out of the diff hole, and then you put your plug in there. Yep, that's it, guys. All right, guys, that does it. We are done servicing the diff and rear end on this vehicle. So that's going to conclude this episode of the 1985 300D. And next episode, we'll get the wheels back on and go start doing our inspection on the front end, see what needs to be done there. And I got a real treat for you regarding the wheels. I showed you guys in another video, we of course got new tires, but these are new old stock original bunt wheels in flawless condition. Those aren't spray painted, they're not powder coated. That's the real deal. I mean, this is an 85 300D. This deserves the best, and that's the best you can get. None of that spray paint refinishing crap. Anyway, those are going to go with brand new center caps too. Those are going to go back up here. And man, this car is getting really close. We'll do the front end in the next video. And this one we'll do the walk around and test drive pretty soon. So thanks for watching. And guys, please subscribe to the channel. We're getting a lot of followers. I think we're maybe up to our subscribers. We're up to around 6,000, something like that. But hit the subscribe button and like button. Let's get more people watching these videos and showing people how to take care of these great cars. See you next time.